Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Hey, welcome into the world of Crazy Cool Family.
Yay.
Don is here and Suze is here.
We are in the world.
Yes, we are.
The Crazy Cool Family
we
world.
We invite you into our world, our Crazy Cool Family world.
Yay, we're so glad you're here.
And where we inspire and equip you to build your best family.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to, if you know the Crazy Cool Family commitments, we want you to pursue God. Parenting starts and ends with you, not your kids. We want you to build relationships, and you do that by creating an amazing culture in your home, kind of a greenhouse where you build your family on the inside where it can flourish on the outside, right?
That's such a perfect wrapped up in a bow.
Yes.
Crazy Cool Family
we
world.
Show you,
right there.
Get on our email list, get on the playbook, get into our materials. We will walk you step by step the key concepts. Sometimes in the podcast we teach on those concepts, so you can go back into the podcast and learn them as well. But sometimes we delve into topics.
And today will be more on the topic line.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we're going to actually talk about cell phones. And so some of you are like, cell phones, I'm dying to hear what they have to say. And others are you like,
because they're dying because they want to see how to control cell phones for their children.
Exactly. And others of you are like, I don't want to hear that because we're actually going to talk to you parents about cell phones. And, I'm sure we're not going to tell you anything that you don't know, but we do hope that it does, as you said earlier, inspire and equip you to maybe rearrange your priorities when it does come to using cell phones in your family.
Well, and really what we're going to focus on, even more specifically, parents, is how you and I and Suzanne, all of us as parents.
In the Crazy Cool Family world.
In the Crazy Cool Family, all of us as parents use our cell phones. We're not going to focus today in this podcast. So if they're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to feel like me. I had to think about, oh gosh, what can I say here? Because I feel I don't do it well sometimes for sure. But if that's going to be you and you're going to be overwhelmed with guilt, don't worry, we're not going to make you feel guilty. We're going to
absolutely not.
It's
we're
not
gonna
about
raise
guilt.
The bar.
Yes, we're going to raise the bar.
Inspire and equip. Inspire and equip.
That's right. Well, but it is going to be about the parents' use of the cell phones, not the kids in this podcast. Maybe we do the kids. We've done the kids in other podcasts, and maybe we'll do it again. But today it's the parents. So
and so just an overview that we're going to talk about is our phones are incredible tools. I mean, and we would all agree with that. They are incredible tools, but they are terrible masters. And I think that when we embrace them as tools, that's a great thing. But when we roll over to them and we jump at their every beck and call, and we're looking at them and using them and investing in them, and more than we are the relationships in our life, then they become a master that and we would all agree it's not a good thing. And
I can just confess that I have a real struggle with this because years ago, I decided to go to my life pretty much 100% digital. I don't use paper a lot because I was bouncing around from different, I have businesses and ministry and family, and we're different places. And it was just so hard for me to keep up with things other than, and so I put everything electronically on my phone, iPad, laptop, so that I could share between the devices and not have to carry around paper and books and everything. But that has led to a constant battle with me of my electronics being my master. And we'll talk about some things to do, but I just want you to know that we're all struggling with it. And so let's talk about some ways that and I think also that, we're going to talk about how the solutions may be different for everyone. My solution, I'll tell you, share with some things that have worked and not worked, have worked or worked for me. Those same things might not work for you. So, but we're not going to stop the fight. Let's fight and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, so and we know this, that the greatest threat isn't simply too much screen time. That's not it. It's that our attention is being discipled by something other than Jesus. We have the world at our fingertips. And so whether it's through social media or through newsreels or through something that, a book or anything else like that, we've got access to it right there. And what it does is if you've got a scale scale, if you can imagine a scale, one of those weighted scales where you put something on one side and something on the other side. If you've got Jesus and God and kingdom and worship and the Bible, if you've got that in one side of the scale, and then we've got our screen time, if you will, our technology, whatever it is that we're exposed to, if we were to what we're weighing is our minutes of our time, then the technology part always outweighs the God part. And so what would that look like to balance it a little bit more? And just know that the culture in our home is always going to follow with what the parents are doing. The children are watching what we're doing, and we'll talk a little bit about that some more too. And so know that if that's a good thing to maybe motivate you to balance that scale a little bit more for God things and a little less toward technology, but because you know that our children are watching us and they're going to do what we do. So,
well, it hits that first Crazy Cool Family commitment that pursue God. And so, and one of the things we say in there, if you go through that instruction or that concept is that your example is more important than your instruction. And so we tend to be instructive of our kids, and then they're like, well, you're doing it too. And it's true, we are. And so how do we set the example? And what do we do? That's really what this podcast is about, is one, how do we help have our cell phone be, or I don't want to just say cell phone. How do we have our devices be a help to us and an aid to us, and use them because they do have good in them? And then how do we set the example for our family so that we can lead by example, so that our instruction connects better with our kids? Also, we can also tell them too that there is age appropriate things that happen with technology. So I mean, it's just because the parent has this right doesn't mean the child 6-year-old gets the same right. So that's okay too. But we're going to talk more about how example and about how cell phones and devices can help us to be better people if we don't let them be our masters.
Okay, well, so let's just talk about the obvious really quick. Like, why is it so hard to...
I know one thing for me is that I try to I'm reading my Bible, for example, and on my, I do it on an iPad, and but then I go to look something up, and then I see the text message, and then I see so it's like there's so many different reasons, or I'm thinking about my day as I'm praying through my day, and I'm like, I wonder what the weather is going to be like. Where's that weather? It's on my phone to do that. Or I wonder what, whatever it is, it seems like every time, I wonder how long it's going to take me to get to this first meeting of the day. Guess what? I'm on my phone on maps, so it seems like the devices have so many things that are very, very useful that draw us. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at this text and I'm looking at an email and it's been 15 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we need to take a second and acknowledge that the little computer that we carry around in our pocket, if it's our iPhone or our computer or our laptop or whatever, it really is an amazing, incredible, and I would maybe even say good thing. I mean, you've got your music is right there. You've got your things you want to read. You've got news. You've got access to the world. I mean, if you erase all the other things and just the access that you have to the Bible now, that you can have any version, you can have it decipher Hebrew. You can break it down. You can go from NIV to ESV.
We haven't even talked about AI yet.
Yes. And you can do devotions on. I mean, if you just talked about godly things that are on that device, that is incredible. I remember a pastor saying that if anything good came out of technology, it was that everybody has access to the Bible now, that there's a free Bible app, and that if you don't, and so I all the time know 2 or 3 words of a scripture. I never do know the address of where it's found in the Bible, but my device does.
Right.
All I have to do is type in 2 or 3 words, and it can pull it up exactly where it is.
And then you can read the story, and you can read it in context, and you can read. Yeah, so there's so much, and it's so much faster.
It's beautiful. It's got to the point where I don't even have to wonder about anything. WONDER, wonder about anything, because all I have to do is type it in.
Well, but
the answer's there.
But some people would say to that, and I think there's truth to it, that oh, well, what that means is we don't have to study our Bible like the people, because you had to go memorize the scripture and you had to go deeper in order to do that. So there is, but it's, I think there's it's a both and. So there is, I find that it's still good to study the Bible and go deep with it, to memorize scripture or whatever. But some people, just have trouble recalling things. It's interesting to me at the age I am. It seems like I memorize a scripture passage, I come back to it in a month and it's brand new because but yet, so there is such an advantage. But, also just, in reading books, I'm reading like 4 different books right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I were to have those with me, it would just, I was always losing losing books and leaving my Bible at church, literally I can have my Bible at church and be taking notes at the same time on the same device.
Exactly. And then, music. You have every single song at your fingertips at any point in time. And if you want to make a playlist, like forget ever listening to the radio. Remember how obnoxious the radio was?
How ineffective it was.
Oh, yeah. And you listen to 2 songs and then have 4 advertisements, and it was just so annoying. And you don't even have to do that anymore. And you can go on a walk and you can pick if you want it to be a fast music list or slow. So we could just talk about the beauty and how good and wonderful technology is for the rest of this, because we could, just because it is. But we don't need to be convinced anymore that the scale, right? Everybody out there, we don't need to, we all know that it's an amazing and incredible device. We all know that. That's why we're so attached to it and we're so bought in. I tell you what, I don't know anything that's more valuable if I were to lose than my phone. I could lose my my wallet. I think I'd be fine. I think I could probably even lose my car and be fine. But if I were to lose my phone, it's like, wait, what? Where is it? Oh, it's got everything on it. It's got, anyway. I don't know.
I think about all the how we used to have to keep a big tablet with us, or a big deal with all the phone numbers in it of people and things like that we don't have anymore, and maps, and
it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, but then also, so then, like, for example, right today, one of my habits that I want to break is ESPN. So I know more of tidbit sports information and I'm not really, I don't even get into it like some people do, like there's fantasy football's coming up. And so everybody's looking at, the draft and all the things that are happening, and there's things my kids know, my boys know, especially. It's like, well, how do you know that running back for that team? But I just, I may open up ESPN like 4 times a day, just and look at it, and I'm reading the same stories and the same stuff over and over. And that's just dumb. There's some certain things about the phones and the devices that are just, we're filling our minds with useless information, which distract us from the relationships. One of the things the Lord's telling me right now is, what if you took that time and texted somebody something encouraging instead of reading about, something the Los Angeles Dodgers did for the 8th time, Yeah,
and so that's exactly right. Let's talk about the bad things. Like my Google feed right now, if I were to pull up my Google feed, like let's say I'm going to look up something and then I get distracted on my Google feed and I start looking at whatever. Well, did you know that Anne Hathaway's pregnant? Do any of us care? Seriously, I've got friends that are pregnant. I've got, that I need to be, like you said, texting or reaching out to, but no, I'm just reading article after article of little old Anne Hathaway, and it's like, it does not matter. Right. I don't know her. I will never in my life have a conversation with her. Right. And she does not know me. And so that's just a perfect example.
She's not going to invite you to the birth or anything.
I'm not.
She's not going to.
We're
not
going
to be at the baby shower.
I will not even be at her baby. No, I will not. And so that's one of those things that's where it feels like that's where the enemy has got us in a stronghold, because we get caught up in the distraction. We're going to do the good thing, look up the something, and then we get caught up in the feed and the distraction. And so that's the bad. What else so it distracts us? What else is the bad? Not that you people out there that are listening, I know that you know what's bad, but let's just bring it back to the surface again, because we sometimes stuff it away.
Well, I definitely think there are times that I'm talking to somebody and it sometimes it really is a text that comes or whatever, but sometimes there's like this pull that a phone has for me, and if I'm just the least bit bored if I'm not interested, or if I'm just the least bit distracted,
I mean, so bad, but so right.
I'm gonna reach, and there's just this automatic, or like I may like, for example, I'm at a lunch, and I go to the restroom. I'm standing. This will be too much information for you, but I'm standing at a urinal. What am I going to do? Am I going to think about that conversation I'm having at lunch and maybe how I could pray for that guy? Or, no, I'm going to pull out my phone, and I'm going to see if I've got any text messages. I'm going to see if I've got any emails, and I'm going to scroll through and get rid of 3 stupid emails that have come through that are spam. And then I'm going to go back and sit down with the guy again. It's like, those are the things that are not good. They're habits we need. And the cool deal is it's not the phone actually the phone is designed to have us do that. I mean, they actually, the people that we all know about that, how Facebook does this, and
notifications.
And they do it to, they know how to get your attention when they know how to keep you scrolling and all the things. But guess what? We're children of the King. We have the power to do things. We have the power to do the impossible.
Well, even within the system of the phone that they've designed, you have the power to turn off the notifications, to make your phone where it does not ring and it does not vibrate and it doesn't do anything. So we have no idea that anything's coming in. Like, we've got some friends of ours that they go to the phone. They do not let the phone come to them. And so anything that comes into them, and they check their phone, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a day. I asked, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but they check their emails and they check their texts, but they don't jump off the hook. I mean, they don't, as soon as it comes in, they don't catch it. They literally, at 10 a.m. on Monday morning, at 2, at 4, and then at 8, that's the only time they reply back to text. That's the only time.
That just seems impossible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, is that, I don't know about you, but I mean, it's like, I'm going to put my phone away for 4 hours.
Well, I don't know if you're going to put it away, but you're not gonna check your texts. But you know what? They don't check and or respond.
Yeah. It's like, what happens?
So it's like, basically it's like, the way I understand it is they are in control of the device. The device is not in control of them. And it is, I mean, and I remember when they, like, we raised our children and we didn't have cell phones. And so our children were raised, and they were the last generation that was raised.
Well, the first children didn't, but the last ones, I mean.
That's true. Because McCade was, little. That's true. That our first date, that's true. But I remember thinking that I'm overwhelmed with this. I'm overwhelmed that the world can get to me. I'm overwhelmed that my friends can now reach out and connect to me any time of the day or night that they want to, or anybody, news or anybody can. And I just remember being really overwhelmed with that. And I mean, obviously we've gotten used to it now, but there is something to be said about putting in safety nets of stopping what's coming to us. Like, I don't have any notifications on my phone. I have, just because it's too much.
Yeah. Anyway. And so it really is. So what we want to talk about today is about stewardship, about how do you, and not letting, we all fight it. It's all hard. It's designed to beat us, but we are children of the King, and we can do things differently. And when we do, we become an example. I was talking to one of my kids a few days ago, and they just said, and this is a habit that we do well. There's many things that we don't, but I mean, one of the things is when our family is at a dinner or whatever
together.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that people never pull out their phones, but the characteristic of it is, I think we get into these things about having to be 100% perfectionist, and it's never going to work. But you would look at our family when we were at dinner with 3 or 7 or 12 or however many people are there, and most people would not have their phones out, and they would be engaged in conversation. Versus, you see a lot of families that, all 4 people are at dinner and they all have their phones out and they're all looking at them, and they may be conversing, but it's like they're really scrolling through and looking at stuff. And so that is something that we have stewarded in our family over time, and then our kids have adopted it. So, so what are you going to do first? What are you going to steward in your own life that, and again, perfection is such an enemy. Don't worry about perfection, but what are you going to do that's different? What are you going to try to do that's different? Is it hard? Yes, but you develop new habits and new ways to do things. And, and I think sometimes it's really about cutting it off. I think there's certain things like maybe, like they say, I'm not going to get to my text until 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That's a pretty hard rule. Okay. That sometimes it takes that, and I think it may be different for everyone, and maybe
Absolutely.
even different. So what is your solution, and what's going to work with your personality in order to steward your phone well?
Yeah, and so some of the things that come to mind is that stewardship is like careful, responsible management. That's what stewardship is. So think about your phone. Okay, how am I going to carefully, responsibly manage it? And Don, you said something earlier in the podcast, which is brilliant. You said that
I like it when you think I'm brilliant.
You're so brilliant, honey. You're so brilliant. You would pull out your phone because in a conversation, you're not engaged. And I think that so many times as parents, we're not engaged with what our child is saying or doing because they are living in a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old world. And reality is we're just not that interested in that. We lived that and we were great when we were 10, 11, whatever. But now we live in an adult world and it's much more exciting what that screen has got for us instead of what that child in front of us has for us. And so that's the first place that I think that I would maybe advise or encourage, inspire and equip. That's the first place I would inspire and equip you as a parent.
In our crazy cool family world.
In the world that we're living in. Exactly. Crazy cool family world. I would to really flip your thinking on that and really think about that child as important and valuable and what they're saying. I mean, it is very important and valuable to them. And they are important and valuable to you. So therefore, what is important and valuable to them must be important and valuable to you.
Well, and let me give you some freedom there because, and this has really worked for me, again, not perfectly, but when I do it, it works, is that, there are times when we choose to engage with our child. We choose to engage. And so when we choose to engage, we put our phone down.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't look at that child and say, hey, there is something that's come in. I need to deal with this. And so, but if that happens every time, then you probably have abandoned the rule. But there can be, give you some freedom there to say, so for example, McCade came in today and I was doing something on the computer. It was a work-related task. And he comes in and he wants me to do something. He's going to college and it's a credit card thing. And I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I need to finish this task. Then I can address your deal. And I did. I finished the task and that's perfectly okay. Right. Your child comes in and they have a story for you and you go, hey, hang on just a second. I'm in the middle of a text that's work related. I want to finish this, and then I'm going to give you my full attention. That's amazing, and that's great parenting right there.
That is, we must do that as a parent because we need to train our children that they don't get unlimited access to the adult, whether it's the teacher or the coach or their boss or whoever that is. So they need to learn that right now. But parents, you need to be that example. You need to lead that. So the child comes in, they have your full attention. They're jumping up and down. They're so excited. They're telling you a story, and then your phone dings in your pocket, and you pull it out in front of them. Then what you've told them is that whatever's on the phone is much more important than them.
Yeah, you just shut them down.
You just shut them down. I mean, and you've made them second place. And so what they're going to do, you do that. We do that enough times as parents, then the kids are going to start doing that to us, and we're going to start being second place. They're not going to tell us the things. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell others, but they're not going to tell us because we didn't make them feel important. So
yeah, it's a huge motivation, and we're going to talk about it, how it works in our marriage in just a minute. But just think about it when you're engaged with your child, and something happens, and you choose to pull out that phone, you have chosen to disengage. I can do two things at once. I can multitask. No, is the answer to that question. You have chosen to disengage. And I think that helped me a lot to realize that if I think about it like that, like I've chosen to disengage, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. And so it encouraged me to let that phone be at buzz, or, and what I do is I put it on silent because I
So
don't
you
want
don't even know.
So I know because it buzzes, but it's not like ringing. It's not like buzzing, a lot.
But so that's a great point right there. That would be a thing that I would say is like my phone, which everybody's annoyed because sometimes they can't get in touch with me because I have it totally off completely. I have it shut so it does not come to me that I come to it.
I get annoyed at that sometimes.
Yes, and the children do too. Mom, I've been texting you all day long, and I'm like, oh, I've just been living my life. And so, but if you can, if once again, if you're so pulled by that, or if you're going to be so tempted to pull it out of your pocket when you're in the middle of a conversation, then maybe for 2 hours in the evening, you turn it off when you're with your kids, or you leave it in the car, or you put it in the, somewhere so that it cannot get to you. That's where it feels like that this technology has come in to this new generation of parents, and we don't know how to incorporate it in our lives. And so we're letting it be our master. And so how do we take control? And so just think about that. What are some ways that you can take control in your life so that and it really is empowering, honestly, to be able to say, nope, you're not in charge.
Can I tell you about a win I've had this summer?
Always. We love wins. Share your win.
So 2 things were really bugging me that I was spending time on, that one of them was social media and the other were games. And so the reason they were bugging me is because I felt like I was, social media is just so hard to something image will come up and it's just not healthy. And I didn't like that at all, and and it just seemed like with Facebook in particular, it was all ads and it went away from being people all I knew to people. It was just it was such a time waster. And then games, I tend to get addicted to a game, and all of a sudden I'll just spend 2 hours with it, or whatever. And I didn't like that about myself, but I couldn't figure out how to not be addicted, So I found this app, and I can't access. And now I can still access it. I can turn off the app that limits it, but I took away social media and I took away games. And so literally for the past 3 months, I have not been on social media at all or played a game at all.
Wow.
There's been times that it's been a little bit difficult, but I don't, for some reason, I won't go change that app. And that worked for me. And again,
that's your boundaries or your guardrails.
You never know what boundary. I've done other boundaries and they didn't work, but that one did. And so I think the reason I want to bring it up, one, I love the win, and so I'm proud of it. But there's also, I'm like, how do you test boundaries and you test different things? Again, we're in the fight, we're in the game, and we want to be the example, and we want to do things right.
One of our sons had like a time limit on it or something. I don't remember what that was, but they would come in and say, Dad, type in the passcode so that I can have more time because I didn't finish my project or whatever. And I just thought, wow, good for you.
And that worked for him.
Yeah.
And I've tried time limits before, and I go around them. Yeah. I'm like, but no, I'm going to get to level 4. And I don't care about that time limit. I'm going to get. But if I don't play it at all, then that works for me. And my point is that there's different. I've tried a lot of different ways to limit my use of phones, and I'm still trying ways to limit. That one worked for me. What's going to work for you? And
yeah, I think it's so funny. I mean, it's obviously once again a strategic plan from the enemy that the phone has come in and wiped off all of our self-control. Like we wouldn't do anything else like that. Like we wouldn't sit and read a book for 4 hours in front of our kid, when the kid's running around, or we wouldn't. I mean, and maybe it wouldn't be 4 consecutive hours, but I can't even imagine having a book and just every time, just pulling it up and reading it. Like when my kids were little, I never even read books till late at night. And anyway,
unless we read books to them.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's just so many things in life that we would not do. Like you wouldn't sit up there and play a pinball game all day long, or play even a video game on the whatever. If the kids were here, And so what makes us think that it's okay to pull out our phone and check our social media or check the news or whatever that is? Like it blows my mind that we've allowed it to happen because we wouldn't let anything else like that be the case. but yet it's very much the norm.
Yeah.
It is very, very, like you go into a restaurant and you've got a higher percentage of people that are on their phones than are not. I mean, I guess it depends on the restaurant, but it really is fascinating.
Well, and with the generation that's coming up that you guys are in that are probably listening to this, a lot of you grew up on, Xbox. A lot of guys especially grew up on Xbox. And so, I had a dad tell me the other day that he literally had to just get rid of his Xbox because he was gaming still late at night, and then it was messing with his sleep, and he wasn't, and it was like, so, there's so many devices. That's why I'm saying it's not about just phones. It's about devices. It's about technology. Some people, because, our boys had trouble there. They were watching on their laptops. And so they had to think about, because the phone had certain limitations, and so they didn't have as many limitations on the laptops.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, though, one of the things I want to, before we finish, is talking about phones at night for married couples. And so often, one of the things Suzanne and I have always said, in not before, really for many, many years, even, as we started Crazy Cool Family, is couples that go to bed together can communicate together. We really encourage families to try to go to bed together. Many times one parent stays up late, one goes to bed early or whatever, and we know there's different cycles and things like that. But even then, the more we can go to bed together. But now what's happening is that parents are going to bed together, maybe, but they're just on their phones, and they're, or they're scrolling through, and they don't really communicate. And we struggle with that sometimes of, just going to bed and literally I'm on my iPad reading a book, and you're scrolling through Instagram or whatever, and then good night, and that's it. And so one of the things we really want to encourage all of us in our Crazy Cool Family world is to, what are you doing with your phone? Might there be something to do to put that phone away? And, maybe you put it on the charger, and once you put it on the charger, it doesn't come back on at that point, and again, this is something Suzanne and I are looking at going, yeah, we need to work on this too. So we're not, it's like my dad used to say, don't do as I do as I say,
Well, and what we're doing, we are bringing it to our attention as well, because bring darkness into light, just to ask, and we're asking ourselves too, who gets our first attention, like after work? Do we go straight to our social media because we've been at work all day? Do we go straight to our, games or whatever? And then what happens after the kids go to bed? We don't obviously have that issue anymore. We are officially empty nesters. I highly recommend it. But go ahead and raise your children first. But what does happen? Are you just ready to get your kids in bed so that you can see what's happening out there in the world? And then, are you sitting beside each other and scrolling? Are you sitting on the couch or whatever that is? And then what's once again a guardrail to put in place so that doesn't happen. So we're not saying take it all away. Maybe Monday nights, that's what you do. Monday nights we're going to scroll or play our video game or do this or do that. Going to be on our technology. But Tuesday and Wednesday night we're going to interact with each other.
But I would say, if you're not going to bed together consistently and having a conversation pretty consistently before you go to bed, man, you're missing out. You are so missing out. There is so much good connection. Suzanne, you would tell me things about like what the kids did during the day, and I would share with you different things. And it was just somebody told us that years, when we first got married, go to bed together. And, it was hard, for me.
I think that's why we're still married today.
Exactly.
It was some rough years in there, and I think that going to bed together, that's what saved the day. But
now it's not just going to bed together. It's going to bed together and putting away your devices.
Yep.
And so that you can look at each other and maybe it's just, maybe here's what you can do. Say to yourselves that, okay, for the last 10 minutes, the last 10, maybe 15, if you're a big, aggressive, and you want to really overachieve, do 15 minutes.
That's good.
We're going to do 15 minutes before we go to bed. We are not going to have our technology in front of us. We are going to put the phone on the charger. It's going to go over there, and then we're going to let it go, and we're going to look at each other and visit, maybe pray, whatever it is before you go to bed. Not just say, okay, and again, this is something Suzanne and I need to correct too. It's like we put our phones away, we quit reading, and then we say good night, and that's it. And so we're going to challenge ourselves to do that as well. But
you can ask us if you see us in person. You can hold us accountable.
So what else from a practical standpoint?
Yeah, let's do some more practicals. I love the practicals. That's the best part. One of the things is to just have a safe zone or spaces where maybe a no phone zone. And so maybe if you want to go next level, then your bed is a no phone zone. And you don't have you're not on your phone in bed. Well, yeah, because you read your books on that or whatever. But maybe the kitchen table is a no phone zone. Maybe the living room is a no phone zone or a no technology zone. And so just have a couple. Maybe the car is it. So pick a couple places. And I just had this picture of, this child who's been competing for, our attention says, Mommy or Daddy, let's come in the kitchen because there's no phones in there, and just wanting to create a place that you're not going to have your phone. I don't know if that, I don't even know how that feasibly works, but if you could do something like that, I think that would be
lot
powerful.
of it is, so if you're sitting down to dinner together, everybody puts their phone somewhere.
Absolutely. Time. So it's not even a place, but now it's a time. So time.
Mm-hmm. But
dinner time.
But there can be a place. You could even have a little basket that says, and hey, it's dinner time. Everybody's coming. Okay, phones go over here, and you know what? It's amazing when you are willing to do it. How over time your kids become willing to do it, and then over time they become the advocate. Hey. No phones at dinner. Everybody's got a phone. You'll have at least one kid that becomes the advocate. Now you don't have to enforce the rules. The kid's enforcing the rules.
Well, and we've got a grandson right now. He's not there yet, but I can just see that if his parents bring their phone to the dinner table when it's time for him to get a phone, and they now put this rule in place, no phones at the dinner table, he's going to be like, "You've had a phone at the dinner table our whole lives. Why did it change?" And so go ahead and put those parameters. Think about what are the parameters that I'm going to want my kids to have with their phone, and go ahead and put those in place. Like no phones first thing in the morning. How obnoxious is that going to be? You're trying to get them out the door to go to school and they're on their phones. And so maybe nobody has their phone for breakfast or
but
maybe
think about this when and again, you think your kids aren't watching, but let's say that dad, he decides that he's going to leave. He goes somewhere to read his Bible. And that's what he does, consistently in the mornings as he goes and spends time with God. And the kid notices, and they will notice, that Dad doesn't have his phone with him when he does that. He goes into here and he's got his. Now I would have trouble because I'd have my iPad because it has my Bible on it. I'd have to figure that out. I don't have kids though, so it's okay. But what happens is he sees that and he's like, what? I remember my dad putting God first every day before he picked up his phone. That's what. So as we end this podcast, let's go back to what we started talking about at the first is. It's about example. The culture of our homes will follow how the parents act.
Right.
And so what are you going to do? And it doesn't mean the same rule. You don't have to have the same rules as your kids. They're younger than you. We get that. But what are you going to show?
What rules are you thinking about putting in place for them? Be thinking about that right now. Be proactive. And if some of those line up for you, then by all means do those. I think that's a great way to create some boundaries.
And the first, what we're talking about today is the example and just to join the fight. If you feel like, you're coming at us going, man, my phone is just ruling my life. I know I have a lot of conviction as we're going through this podcast, even though I'm leading it. It's okay, because we're all in the fight. We're all having the same issues. And, but it doesn't mean we don't join the fight and go after not letting the phone become, what did we say? It was the master, the terrible master. Don't let that
so
in.
I just think about, the best place to start is to just, how when you're praying and you just hold your hands open to the Lord, like, Lord, what do you have for me? Or I surrender. What would that look like if we just held our phone in our hand and said, okay, God, what parameters do you want to put in place for me with my phone? And let him guide and direct and see what he says. Because remember that image that I said at the very beginning is that we're living our lives on a scale. And we've got life, choose life so that you and your children may live. That's on one side of the scale. Or you've got the things of this world on the other side of the scale. What is it that's distracting you from choosing life so that you and your children may live? And what is the percentage that is technology that's robbing us literally of those relationships and engaging with them and enjoying them and valuing them and seeing them as who God has created them to be? I just think it's just like, when I think about our technology as a master that's ruling our life, it actually makes me mad, and it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take back the ground that I've given in that. So
that's good stuff. Final thought I have is that if you have older kids and they have phones, is to ask them and to ask everybody in the family and say, hey, and you can do it like this. And again, leading by example, you say, hey, I feel like my phone's dominating my life. And I feel like it's a domination in the family for all of us. What are some things you think we could do so that we could have the phone be less dominating in our lives? One of the things I want to commit to you, teenager or whatever, is when I'm engaged with you, I want you to call me out on it. If I'm engaged with you and we're talking and I pull out my phone, you can say, hey, Dad, do you need a minute? Or whatever it is, do you need a minute? And so, and whatever that is, and then, or maybe the teenager says, we shouldn't have phones at the dinner table. Oh, great idea. Yeah. So put it before your kids and, figure out, and again, our methods aren't your methods. What works for you, what works for your personality, what works for your family. It's because we build our families uniquely as God designed it. There's certain principles we do and certain concepts, and that comes back to the core Crazy Cool Family, because we're teaching those concepts, but that's why God put you as the leader, because you're going to apply them in certain ways. You're going to hear his voice, like Suzanne said. You're going to go back and say, God, what should I do? And he's going to give you these crazy, insightful things to put into your family. So as always, parents, we are so excited that you have joined our Crazy Cool Family world today. And as always, go be crazy, crazycoolfamily.com.